Hey guys, Kay here. This is Lost Between Analog and Digital, an unscripted, angsty millennial podcast about growing up in the 90s and early 2000s. Today I wanted to talk about some of the kind of late 90s trends when I was in school. There was quite a few I actually really loved. Gogo's Crazy Bones were huge in the 97 to 99. Yo-Yo's had a big comeback around the same time. And then a little bit before that, I believe, was Beanie Babies. I want to take a few minutes and just kind of go over each of those trends and my recollection and memories of everything. I guess let's start with Gogo's Crazy Bones. Those of you who don't know, Gogo's Crazy Bones or Crazy Bones was a blind bag of, you get like 5 or 6 little plastic like monster figurines. It was based on like a knucklebone game. So they were like highly collectible. You get stickers. You could buy a sticker book, kind of keep track of everything. Although I don't think you got the stickers that you got with the figures in the blind bags. One of the biggest points of like collectability for them was they had all these different monsters, and in like the first series they were just kind of like different characters, but they would be made of different plastics and resins. So you could get like you would have solid base colors, and then you have like clear resins, and then you would have clear resin with like glitter or like metallic colors and stuff. So yeah, it gave a lot of like versatility for just a simple design. So you weren't just getting like one figure in one color. It was like you could theoretically get this figure in like 24 colors that were in the line. You try to collect like your favorite character in the color you like, or like some of the colors were a little more rare. Like I think the metallics were rarer, and there was like kind of different games you could play with the game I always remember playing was we would take our Crazy Bones and we'd line them up about a foot apart, and then we would take turns flicking a Crazy Bone at the opposing side, kind of like Red Rover, and see if you could knock the Crazy Bone over. And if you knocked the opposing Crazy Bone over, you'd get a point, and then you would put your Crazy Bone back in line, and they would try, and then whoever was had the last Crazy Bone standing would win. There was another game where I think you'd put them on the back of your hand, and you would fling them up in the air and try to catch them. I went through Wikipedia on that just in the little bit of prep work I did in the lead up to this. All of the games listed there, I do not remember playing anything like them. I just remember doing the the Red Rover kind of knockoff, and whatever it was off the back of your hand. But the designs were kind of cool, and I remember there being like some characters that were like heavier or bigger that had a lot more desirability, because you would hit them and they would go further, and they would like knock over the opposing Crazy Bones or whatever a lot easier. And then they had the Mega Crazy Bones, I think maybe in 99, that were kind of reminded me of the Pog Slammers. I'll probably talk about Pogs another time, but they were a collectible cardboard disc game. And then you would have big metal pieces that you'd use to try to knock over the tower. Out of the first wave, the one I remember everybody trying to get was Eggy. It was an egg-shaped one that I think had eyes on it and maybe feet. It kind of looked like a Digimon. And where that was like one of the thicker, heavier Crazy Bones that was more popular. I don't know if it was rarer or but I just remember that was the Crazy Bone everybody was wanting. And I eventually ended up getting one in transparent lime green. It was pretty cool, but a bunch of my friends had them. Had Aggie. It gave you so much street cred. For a while, the best Crazy Bone I had was stew. It was a stew pot, and it was relatively bigger. I had it in, I believe it was either transparent burgundy or transparent purple acrylic. It was always really good cleaning up when we would play. And I remember having so many trade offers for it, but it was like the only decent one I had, because there was a bunch of them would be like really flimsy Crazy Bones, and a couple of them would be kind of heavier. So Eggy and Stu, and I think maybe Deborah was like a screaming monster woman or something, were some of the bigger ones that were pretty reliable to knock over like an opposing Crazy Bone. From a business point, it would be absolutely ingenious to have these collectible figures in all these different variety of options and colors, because you're just reusing the existing molds, and they probably just have one mold or one set of molds that would mold all of the character sheets at once, or character sprues at once, and then you could just swap out your resins and injection plastics, and then just mix them all up and send them out in blind bags. Like, just doing the little bit of prep work and everything, I found that they were still available on eBay sealed. It makes me really want to go and spend the money and track down a few bags, but or just buy some mixed lots or whatever. But one of those things where it's like I want to do it, but at the same time, I can't convince myself to pull the trigger on spending that much on a toy from 30 years ago. And so I think it was grade 3, and they were really popular when I was in grade 3 and 4. And I had end up changing schools. We left the province for a year in grade 5. And I don't know if it's because I went to like a Catholic school out there, or if they just weren't as popular or whatever. But like when we moved out to Calgary, like nobody in my class played Crazy Bones or had really heard of them. Maybe it was just where it was a Catholic school or something. But I thought that was so odd, because like you could buy Crazy Bones out there. Coming back from Calgary and for grade 6, Crazy Bones had some popularity because they had some new sets come out in '99. I think they were available at McDonald's and stuff. They weren't the height of popularity they were in '97 and '98, but they were still popular enough that kids would still play them occasionally or still be trading them. But yeah, I really enjoyed Crazy Bones. I don't know if it was just the collectible nature, the blind bag. They were a little bit more accessible and affordable than Pokemon cards, for me, at least for me at the time. So I think you get them for like $2 or $3 for a bag of Crazy Bones, and like a bunch of stores would have them like as an impulse item at the cash or whatever. Pokemon cards were a lot harder to get, at least in my town. You had to go out to like Walmart, which was in a different town. Made it a little harder, and was not somewhere that we went regularly, probably once a month or so. So I might get like a pack of Pokemon cards every couple of weeks. But yeah, I really enjoyed Crazy Bones. I loved collecting them. Just the whole aesthetic of them. I was really tied into that kind of like '90s absurdism. Um, White TV had like the characters and everything that they used to promote their stuff around the time were very similar design wise. These kind of just absurd, bizarre monster creature things. For anybody that doesn't know, YTV was children's young adult television network, youth television in Canada. It still is, in the era of cable and everything. It was like you get home from school, and it was YTV or Teletoon were your options for watching cartoons or whatever after school. YTV for their after school block, The Zone. The mascot at the time was a TV that was covered in like what looked like bubble gum or something with eyes, and the TV was a mouth snit, which if you want to Google that, nightmare fuel. Yeah, and not the newer snit station one where he was like some kind of space android, the old school snit where he was a purple plastic TV thing. I think at the time, Crazy Bones really captured that kind of moment of the '90s, that absurdist, gross out aesthetic that was really popular, and was just one of those things that really resonated with us at the time. So yeah, when I was looking at it at Wikipedia, it looked like the Crazy Bone line went from about '96 to about 2019. But I only really remember it being popular till about maybe around 2000 here, and then it kind of fell off. But it looks like it had a continued life in Europe and other markets. I know, unfortunately, I don't have any of my original Crazy Bones, but I'm just thinking about it. I'm really tempted to see about grabbing some off eBay, or I think Etsy is a hot spot for them. Next, I kind of want to talk about yo-yos. Like yo-yos were huge around the same period, 97, 98, upwards of 99 or so. And I remember yo-yos being like a playground institution at the time. Yeah, like if you were in elementary school or probably junior high or so in like 97, 98, chances are everybody had a yo-yo. And it really seemed like they kind of came out of nowhere. Like I had no recollection or no awareness or anything of yo-yos until going to school one day and seeing people like having yo-yo contests like completely out of the blue. It was like Friday we were talking about Pokemon and pro wrestling, and then Monday everybody had a yo-yo all of a sudden, and they're showing off their little tricks like walk the dog and around the world, and that quickly was probably just those two. Probably just that they could get their yo-yo to sleep. Like out of nowhere, I just feel like everything on TV was like the Duncan yo-yo and Yo Mega yo-yo commercials, and they were like, remember they were like so edgy. It'd be like heavy metal music or something, and some kid with a backwards baseball hat would be like doing some tricks and be like, if you don't have a yo-yo, you're nothing kind of thing. And I was like, God damn it, I need to go get a yo-yo. I end up having a couple. I never had one of the Duncan yo-yos or Yo Mega yo-yos. I had some off-brand ones. Maybe I might have had like one of the smaller brands. So long I don't remember. Remember my first one was really shitty, and it didn't really sleep or anything. It took me a little while to learn how to get it to sleep, and I always had a tendency to throw it out kind of on an angle or like horizontally. So I had trouble learning a lot of the tricks at first, but I was able to learn the UFO where you get it to sleep horizontally. When I got a slightly better yo-yo, and then you get it to sleep horizontally, and you with your free hand you pull it up so it spins vertically, horizontally. Not You can Google it or you can look it up on YouTube. It's a pretty cool trick. Yeah, being able to do the UFO gave me a fair bit of street cred, at least at the time, because I really sucked at a lot of the other tricks. Trying to get it to sleep normally, and that I just where I always threw it slightly off made it a lot harder to do stuff like walk the dog or around the world. I really enjoyed yo-yos, and it was like a lot of fun learning the tricks, and everybody trying to one up each other and your friends, like having like kind of yo-yo trick battles, see who could do the coolest trick. Popularity of yo-yos really took off around the time because I think that's when the sleeping, like self-sleeping yo-yos came out. So they would sleep longer, and it took less kind of input or less work to get them to sleep. So you could get a lot more tricks and everything. There was like the Yomega Brain, I believe. It was Yomega Brain. Maybe it's Duncan Brain, which had like a special axle or something. Yeah, sorry, I should have looked that up so it was fresh in my mind before recording. But there was a couple big brands. I know the Yomega, the Fireball was a really popular one. The Duncan Butterfly, I think it was Yomega Brain, was the one that was like the smart yo-yo that could sleep on its own with minimum input. And then there was like Duncan Pro, and there was a bunch of other brands. I had some cheap, no, like nameless brand ones, and then I ended up getting a semi decent one that was one of the like second tier or third tier brands that I can't remember for the life of me, and that had like their version of the Yomega axle technology or whatever it was that let it sleep for an extended period of time. The crazy thing about the whole yo-yo craze was the professional yo-yo teams that would go around and demo yo-yo tricks. I remember I would have been like 7 or 8, and we went to see one at the strip mall in town. I think it was after hours when the mall was closed, or I think it even might have been after hours when the mall was closed. And going in, and like the strip mall was a bunch of anchor stores on the outside, and then kind of an L-shaped interior with some other stores. We went to this yo-yo demonstration, and we were like sitting on the floor, and these like college kids or whatever come out to like 90s hip hop and matching windbreakers and start doing all these yo-yo tricks in this mall after hours. And it's like, oh, they definitely made great life choices. And as a kid, you're like, oh my God, these people are so cool. Like he he just rocked the baby. He just did the loop-de-loop or, the elevator. And they're just out there busting ass to House of Pain that jump around. And there would always be like the token girl on the team that would get the moment of spotlight, and then they all look like they got rejected from a boy band in their neon windbreakers. It was really surreal thinking back. Bunch of kids sitting on the floor and watching a bunch of what should be adults play with yo-yos. And like these were teams that were sponsored by like Yomega or Duncan or whatever. They had their national yo-yo team, just mobile advertisement hype squads. Nothing says 90s like rampant commercialism masquerading as like edgy urban culture. I really enjoyed yo-yos. It was always a lot of fun learning the tricks. And when I finally got a decent one, I was like able to walk the dog, UFO, elevator, around the world. Probably able to rock the baby at one point. That was like kind of the pinnacle of one of the hardest tricks for us to do that. And a couple kids could do the loop de loop, but almost as fast as yo-yos kind of appeared, they disappeared too. Like I can remember playing with them in grade 3. No, in our area, it might have been just grade 4, or maybe it was grade 4 when I got a decent yo-yo. Again, it was like when we end up moving out west. Like nobody played with yo-yos when I was at school there, but I think the Catholic school I was at too had a lot of stuff banned anyway, so I think that might have been part of it. Like we weren't allowed to have Pokemon cards. We weren't allowed to. Pro wrestling was banned. Power Rangers was banned. I feel like just about everything was banned. We might not have been allowed to bring toys to school. Period. So maybe that was it. For a brief moment there, before YouTube and becoming a content creator was an option, if you really wanted to disappoint your parents, there was no better way than to become a professional yo-yo demonstrator. So I missed the ship on that. Finally, I kind of want to talk about Beanie Babies, another one of those 90s crazes that seemed to come out of nowhere. Like yo-yos, I kind of don't really remember anything about Beanie Babies until like everybody at school had them. I had friends that were absolutely obsessed with Beanie Babies, and all of my friends were guys. Like I never really understood the Beanie Baby thing, but you get the odd one as a gift or something, Christmas or Easter or whatever, from a family member. So you end up with a few of them. And then they were in the McDonald's Happy Meals that people were like fist fighting over because certain ones were rare. I think it was like maybe a whale or a penguin or something. So I can remember like, I think my aunt was like taking us to McDonald's to try to see if we could get like the Happy Meal Beanie Baby toys, because like some of them were going to be worth money at some point or whatever the lie that everybody told themselves that were spending their life savings on Beanie Babies. So like I wasn't really into them, but I had friends that were big collectors, and that always struck me as kind of weird. Like, like I much rather play Pokemon or Digimon or Power Rangers or wrestling or like anything else. And you have Brent that's there with all his Beanie Babies. I only had a couple that were given to me at different times or whatever. And then I had some of the knockoff ones that were a little cooler. I had a lizard. I think it might have been like a monitor lizard or a Komodo dragon or something. And I think one year for Christmas I got it was like a poison dart frog Santa Claus kind of thing. It had a vest and a Santa Claus hat. And he was actually kind of cool. But then I end up maybe it didn't have a Santa Claus hat. I was gonna say I end up taking the Santa Claus hat off it, but might not have even had a vest. Might have just been but yeah, so that was kind of the one I thought was cool. It was some off-brand whatever. But yeah, like my friend Brent was really into them, and it was weird. Like, he I don't know how many he had or whatever, but I remember him having a few of them. The part that really stands out to me though is we had the day off school for Remembrance Day in grade 3. Grade 3, it might have been grade 4. And I got invited over to his house on the day off. So it's like, okay, that's cool. Like, we'll go hang out. But he didn't want to like hang out and play video games or like go catch frogs or snakes or whatever. Like do anything normal. He wanted me to come over and bring my Beanie Babies so we could have a Beanie Baby Remembrance Day ceremony. I can remember being in his bedroom and he had a paper cross made with a Remembrance Day poppy on it, and we usually had the Remembrance Day ceremony the day before at school, and then we'd have Remembrance Day off. So he wanted to have his own Remembrance Day ceremony for our Beanie Babies, and other people were invited too. So probably Jeremy and Vaughn and Lawrence and maybe Chris. So yeah, like I'm the only one stupid enough to show up to his Beanie Baby Remembrance Day ceremony, and it was just one of the weirdest things I've done as a kid. Like, I mean, you get a day off school, and your first instinct is like video games, TV, like anything. But he's like, nope, let's plan out a Remembrance Day. So we had to read In Flanders Field for Beanie Babies, and then we had to pray because his family was one of those religious families that mine wasn't. They're like lapsed Catholic, and you get all the guilt and all the other shit, but none of the actual, religious atonement or anything. But yeah, I can remember having to pray with our Beanie Babies for soldiers that died in World War I and World War II, and read In Flanders Field and some other stuff that were like in the handouts. And he had made poppies for the Beanie Babies, or maybe he had like extra poppies for the Beanie Babies. So like all of his Beanie Babies had them, and my frog ended up having a Beanie Baby or having a poppy on it. And it was just like, thinking back, it was one of those things. I was like, what the hell? Like, I did a lot of weird stuff as a kid, but a Beanie Baby remembrance ceremony, yeah, that's definitely top of the list. And like Brent was always kind of a weird cat anyways. And he was a year older than us. His birthday cut off. Or his birthday was in November, so he missed the October cutoff. So there was always that too, that he was a year older than us. But every time he did something weird in like high school or was trying to be cool or whatever, just in the back of my mind, I'm like, yep, this is the dude that had a Beanie Baby Remembrance Day ceremony. So I appreciate you guys joining me today. I apologize. The audio is probably not great. I'm still dealing with a really dry hacking cough, and I'm trying to get as many episodes recorded so I can get this kind of set up and launched and meet the schedule I'm hoping to have. Thanks again. I appreciate you guys. And if you want to help support us, best way right now is to tell a friend about us, leave a review, and I'll see you guys in the next one.